Yo, what is good, Jets Nation? Welcome back to another Jets Media live stream. I'm joined by Ali from Loyal NY Jet fans. You guys know who it is. And we'll be talking about the end of the season for the New York Jets. It is officially all over. Unfortunately, it is, but at the same time, we got a lot of things to be excited about. Joe Douglas just spoke to the media. I think it wrapped up like a half hour ago. So we're going to talk about what Joe Douglas had to say, things that we should keep in mind to expect from the offseason, and give our overall recap of the season, and of course, Sunday's game against the Buffalo Bills. So, Ali, how you doing today, my man? How you feeling?
I'm good, man. It's been a while since I've been on a stream. Last couple of weeks I've been kind of busy, so it's good to be finally be on the live stream. Yes, it's the end of the season. It went really fast this season. I feel like last season was dragging, and this season kind of just flew by. But yeah, I'm ready to talk about football and ready to talk for the Jets offseason, which is going to be a very important offseason for the Jets.
For sure. Very important offseason indeed. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Welcome in. What's good, James, Mark, Matthias, Nick, everybody in the chat. Hope you guys are enjoying your Monday and having a beautiful day, of course. Appreciate all the support on Jets Media. Of course, make sure you guys subscribe to Ali. His YouTube channel is down below in the description. Make sure you subscribe and help out your fellow Jets members in the Jets community, of course. So we're going to get right into the Joe Douglas press conference. It was delayed a half hour. I was waiting there in the chat with all you guys. It was pretty frustrating. But hey, he said some interesting things, Ali. The first quote that I want to break down from Joe Douglas is this. We feel like we can be in discussion with any player that becomes available via trade. We'll be aggressive if any opportunity presents himself. So Jets fans have always, wondered with Joe Douglas. He's shown to be a very good GM when it comes to trading players for value, but we have not seen Joe Douglas trade trade draft picks for players that are proven talent now. And he said that we will be aggressive if any opportunity presents himself. We feel like we can be in any discussion with any player that becomes available because of the cap space, because of the draft capital that they have. They're well positioned to be in an opportunity where they could be aggressive and bring in a big time player, whether that's a Calvin Ridley, whether that's anybody that becomes available on the trade market. It seems like Joe Douglas and his staff are prepared for anybody that becomes available to be aggressive. I feel like that's something that Joe Douglas should definitely look at, because not only do we need to build this thing to the draft, we need proven talent everywhere on this team. So, Ali, what's your thoughts about Joe Douglas saying that quote?
No, that's the right step in the right. That's like the good step in the right direction, man. I love what he said. That I wrote that down too, that quote, because look, the Jets have a foundation now. I feel like with this rookie class that they have and these young players that they have on this football team, but now they got to go out there and get real talent. They need to get guys that can take it to another level, and then we can get some wins on the board. The Jets team right now, obviously, very young. It's very young, but they kept showing that they have signs of improvements, and you all season long, especially Zach Wilson, which we're probably going to get later on in this video, is that he you saw the improvements from every single player, the wideouts, the defensive line, the cornerbacks, the quarterback, the wide receivers, even somewhat the tight ends, the running back group. So all these guys are so young, and then ready to go, that he finally has a foundation. But now it has not translated to wins. The 6 wins in the last 2 years is not good enough. And he said that in his presser too. That's not good enough how many wins we've gotten. So he needs to go out. He needs to go be aggressive, because, again, this offseason is very important, because the Jets need to be considered next year in the playoff run, in the hunt, something like that, because the Jets are ready to go. They need to develop around their quarterback. If Calvin Ridley is available, I want him to be aggressive for Calvin Ridley. If these big-time players are ready to go, you need to keep developing around your own quarterback, because I believe they think that Zach Wilson is the key for the Jets' success. I think they trust him in that way, so they're going to try to develop around that. And I think him saying that he'll be aggressive throughout the offseason is very important, and because the Jets do have a lot of flexibility. The Jets have a lot with draft capital. They could probably trade a couple players if they really wanted to. So there's a lot of ways that they can move around and pay these top guys to come play for the New York Jets, because they have something building. Robert Saleh still has a respect around the league. So people want to come play for Robert Saleh. He still has that good name for him. And but he just got to be more aggressive. He needs to, what he said right now, he needs to be aggressive on that. He needs to go out there and get a receiver possibly for Zach Wilson, because yesterday was brutal to watch because literally no one was catching the ball. No one was having any separation on these DBs. Nothing. Zach Wilson had no time also. Like, there was nothing going right for that offense yesterday. So to be aggressive is very important for this Jets team. And this is like the entire presser. He was saying the right quotes. He was saying the right things. But now he's got to do it.
Yeah, he's got to do it. And like you said, he is well positioned. And it's crazy because if Joe Douglas plays his cards right in this offseason and he hits on a lot of avenues such as the draft, free agency, and the trade market, like, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but the foundation that was laid in this past season, and if Joe Douglas hits a home run this offseason, we should be a very improved team heading into next season and be competing in December. I feel like that should be the expectation for this Jets team. Even Joe Douglas said that. The fan base knows that. Going into this past season, I think we all were on the same page that this is a year of growth. This is the year of starting 10 rookies, having the youngest team in the NFL. And we knew that it's going to be a roller coaster season. Robert Saleh knew that going in. The entire coaching staff knew that going in. The fan base knew that going in. We knew we were not competing for the division. We knew we were not going to the playoffs. But now, since we went through a season that way, now the expectations are going to change. And next year, the expectations are going to be different. We should be in the wild card race, if not the division race, by the end of the season. And if that's not the case, then we have a big issue on our hands. And that's something that we'll get into, of course. So with all the capital that the Jets have, we got the 4th overall selection as well as the 10th overall selection. We have 4 picks in the top 38. This is going to be a very interesting offseason for the New York Jets, and I'm so excited to break down everything here on Jets Media. So, guys, if you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you do so. We're so close to hitting 10,000 subscribers. That's an insane milestone that I cannot believe we're actually this close to it. So if you guys are not subscribed, make sure you smash the subscribe button for your boy. I would greatly, greatly appreciate that. So I want to go over another quote from Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas that we knew going in, but it could be a little glimpse of what's to come in this offseason. And that is, quote, "We are always going to value the line of scrimmage." Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas both align on their philosophy when it comes to football, and that is that it all starts in the trenches, no matter on the offensive side of the ball or the defensive side of the ball. And we saw a big improvement from this offensive line this year. Obviously, last game, not the case, but all the injuries was a big reason for it. We're down to Connor McDermott and Dan Feeney playing football. George Fant steps in for Mekhi Becton and had a way better season than anybody expected. He had a 98% pass blocking win rate at the left tackle spot. One of the best pass blocking left tackles in the entire NFL. Morgan Moses was great at right tackle. Elijah Vera Tucker made a big time step in his rookie season. Connor McGovern had a really good season, very underrated. And then Joe Douglas goes out there and gets LDT at the right guard spot. So I feel like this offensive line is trending in the right direction, but we're still some pieces away from making this in terms of a top 5 unit. I feel like that's Douglas's goal, is to make the offensive line one of the best units in the NFL. That's going to take time. And obviously the defensive line, I would say that they did not live up to the expectations, if I had to say, quite frankly. Obviously, Carl Lawson not playing is a big reason for that. But if this defense wants to get back or get to the dominance that we're expecting under Robert Saleh, it all starts with the trenches. So that makes me think, are the Jets going to go all trenches in the first round? Are they going to get an edge rusher and then maybe an offensive lineman in the first round? Who knows? I think that they have to tackle the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball through free agency and the draft. So, Ali, what's your thoughts about that, and how do you want to see them address especially the defensive and offensive lines when it comes to this offseason?
I just want them to bring in players that, they can trust. I really do believe what they're Joe Douglas. I think Joe Douglas has an idea, especially on the offensive line. I think he's done a good amount of work on the offensive line so far. Morgan Moses coming in, guys that even who they traded for from the Packers. Was it the Packers? But he's bringing in guys that are depth pieces and that could go in and pitch in and help the offensive line. Obviously, the offensive line is banged up. We haven't seen Mekhi Becton literally all season. It's been it's been rough for the offensive line this year. But what Joe Douglas did is he made signings. He had guys out there, and the Jets' offensive line wasn't as bad. If you look at all the injuries that happened all off season. So, I really expect him to go out and maybe grab late in the rounds. I don't think they're going to go early rounds to offensive line because the Jets just have too many holes right now. I think the Jets have the cornerback issue they need another cornerback. They need an edge rusher. Maybe another linebacker, a safety. They have a lot of holes on this team. So I feel like the skill players probably should come first in the draft. And then they might pick up some guys in free agency for the defensive line and offensive line so they can do that, go to a skill player in the draft. But I just like the approach that Joe Douglas has had since he got here. He's been cleaning all the mess of Mike McCagnon, and now he's finally with the clean slate. He has his own team now. This offseason, he needs to address that offensive line heavily. They need to go out in the draft, maybe grab like another 2-3 linemen. And, they really need to do that in the later rounds. The Jets have a good amount of draft picks this year. I don't know, and we're probably going to keep trading back. These picks are going to keep adding up, I feel, because I feel like Joe Douglas loves to trade back, and he likes to gather more picks, and he'll get more offensive lines in there. And then the defensive line, I think the Jets, obviously, they're going to get Carl Lawson back. They still have John Franklin Myers. We'll see a couple other guys come back or not or hit free agency and see if they want to go somewhere else. But, they've done a good job on foundation. They just need to go out and, again, speak on what they're saying and actually do it. Actually go out and get offensive linemen, protect your quarterback, get some pressure on the defense, and just say what you want, say what you're preaching to the media, say what you're preaching to the fans, and show that you can actually do this and make your team better. But I really do feel like they will, because that's why this is offseason very, very important.
Yeah, this offseason is very important indeed. And there's one player I want to talk about in particular because and it's still on the same topic of the trenches. He had a very interesting quote, and Joe Douglas got asked about him as well, and that's Quinnen Williams. Quinnen Williams spoke to the media yesterday after the game, and he spoke to the media today. And what Quinnen Williams said was really awesome, and I'm really happy he said that. But we'll start with the Joe Douglas talk. Connor Hughes asked him if Quinnen Williams and the Jets have started any contract negotiations talks because now he's eligible for that rookie extension. They have not started any contract talks yet, but Joe Douglas says that he's valued high on this team. And listen, just because if we don't extend him this year doesn't mean he's not going to be here for a while. We could pick up his fifth-year option. We can franchise tag him. So I feel like Quinn is not going anywhere anytime soon. But the quote from Quinnen Williams that I love is he said, quote, "I got to tap into a new level this offseason to become that player I know I can be." He also went on to compare himself to guys like Aaron Donald, Fletcher Cox. He holds himself as a very high standard. He said that he needs to start disrupting games in terms of just taking over games and helping the Jets win. And I feel like Jets fans have that expectation on him, but he also has that expectation on himself. And he's self-aware that to the point where he has not lived up to that potential that he gives himself. He did not live up to the standard that he is providing himself. So that's a really good sign because now, if he does not have that self-awareness, if he feels like he's doing everything he needs to do, because he also said, if you look at the stats, I'm a top 10 defensive tackle in the league, but that's not good enough. I want to be on the upper echelon. I want to be the best defensive tackle with Aaron Donald. And we all know that he has that potential. He showed flashes of it, but the problem with Quinnen, I feel like, is consistency. He has a dominant game, 2 sacks, and then the next game he just does his job in terms of not really dominating. So if Quinnen Williams can take that step to be the dominant force in that interior defensive line, and another thing I will bring up about Quinnen Williams that I feel like is not really helping him out is we have not have a true edge presence on the line when he is going crazy. Carl Lawson was supposed to be that guy. That was the vision. It was supposed to be Carl Lawson on the edge with Quinnen Williams right next to him, and they're going to have to pay attention to one of the two, and they're going to make this defensive line wreak havoc. So hopefully Carl Lawson can get healthy. Maybe we can draft a premier edge rusher as well, because Quinnen Williams, I feel like, will take that next step if there's indeed an edge rusher around him. And the crazy thing is, if you look at the stats, Quinnen did not have a bad season. He had an above average season for a defensive tackle, but he's saying he wants to take that step and become elite, and that's a really good sign that he has that self-awareness. So what's your thought about Quinnen Williams' quote saying that he expects himself to be dominating games every single week, and he understands he has not lived up to those expectations just yet?
That's accountability. That's a type of player that you want on your football team. That it's a guy that, yes, he understands that has had some rough stretch. And so that's why he's not going to talk about contract extensions. He's not going to talk about that, and he needs to prove himself to get paid. That's what it's simple as that. He needs to get paid. He will get paid if he plays well on the field, and he really hasn't been that impactful player that we drafted in the first round for. And it's just simple as that. So, yeah, I like what he said. I think he perfectly said that. I'm not worrying about the contract and stuff. I'm worried about getting better, stuff like that. What he said. Um, you know, it's a good. I feel like he's a leader on that football team. I won't be, I won't be like completely mad if we, you know, like kept him, but I don't want like a whole big contract extension. I don't want a huge contract extension for this guy just yet because we haven't seen enough of him. We've seen him get hurt. He's been back and forth on the football field, and he hasn't shown the first round talent that we thought he was going to have. But yeah, he's a guy that's shown leadership. He's a guy that stepped up. But again, I would like to keep Quinnen Williams because you can't get rid of a foundation that you already have, and then just get rid of it because then you're gonna have to start all over again and finding some guys. So just keep him for now and just see what we can do with him. Franchise tag him, take his option or whatever like that. But right now, we shouldn't worry about the extension. We should worry about adding more talent on this football team.
Yeah, add more talent around him. And the reason why I bring it up is because if Quinnen Williams can get to that level that he thinks that he can become, that's going to absolutely change this entire defense. Quinnen Williams is not a problem. He is a solution to the Jets' issues on the defensive side of the ball. So now let's pivot to Zach Wilson because Zach Wilson, obviously Joe Douglas was asked about him, and he thinks that Zach Wilson showed a ton of promise in terms of, starting off the season rough, but finishing off the season with 5 straight games without an interception. Zach Wilson showed flashes. Yesterday was a really rough game. He was thrown into wide receiver number 5 and practice squad guys, and somebody that named Black, who I've never heard of, who made his NFL debut. And Zach Wilson goes out there, does not have a good day at all. He has one flashy play, and that flashy play was really impressive. That touchdown to Keelan Cole just absolutely zipped it between 2 people. And shout out to Keelan Cole for actually catching it and making a play out of it, getting his first touchdown of the season. So Zach Wilson, he finishes off the season with 9 total touchdowns through the air, 4 touchdowns through the ground, 11 interceptions, a positive total touchdowns to total turnovers ratio. I think it's 12-11 or 13-12, one of the two. So the reality of my thoughts about Zach Wilson's rookie season, if you want to, talk about it as a whole, it really comes down to a tale of 2 seasons. The first half and the second half of the season is how you can really break down Zach Wilson, in my opinion. So the first, 7 games before the PCL injury, Zach Wilson had 4 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. And then he comes back from the injury. He has 9 total touchdowns and 2 interceptions or something like that. So there's no denying that the progression was there. I feel like that's all we wanted. We knew that Zach Wilson was having a really tough stretch of games in the beginning of the season. And when he went down with an injury, I feel like we all said, okay, maybe this can be a blessing in disguise. He gets to watch Mike White, Joe Flacco, Josh Johnson execute the offense. And hey, when those veterans went in there, Mike LaFleur moved up to the booth, and all of a sudden the offense was clicking, and Zach Wilson got to sit back and watch what it takes to execute this offense at a high level. And then Zach comes back from injury and plays his best ball of his rookie season. And that's all Jets fans wanted to see from Zach is do not turn the ball over as much as you've been doing. Protect the football and make the proper decisions within the structure of the offense. Don't rely on your talent in terms of rolling to your right, rolling to your left, and being a scramble quarterback, because we know you can do that. What we don't know what you can do is play within the pocket, step up into your throws, and have the proper footwork and mechanics to align with your arm talent and to have the smarts to look off defenders. And I feel like that's what he showed. He showed flashes of that ability, because listen, if he did not show that flash of especially the Buccaneers game where he was just absolutely precise, decision-making was amazing, quick decisions, looking off safeties, looking off linebackers, stepping up into his throws, playing within the structure of the offense, playing without his top receivers and still elevating the guys around him, I'd be scratching my head about Zach Wilson just in terms of going into year number 2, because we haven't seen his ability to elevate guys around him. We haven't seen his ability. Well, now he answered that question. He showed the flashes. Now, listen, do the flashes of potential outweigh the bad that we've seen? I don't think so. I feel like the bad still needs to be worked on. The decision-making is still an issue. The short intermediate throw accuracy is still not where we want it to be. There's a lot of things that Zach Wilson needs to work on this offseason if he wants to take that next step in year number 2. And the best part about Zach Wilson, in terms of looking into the future for me, is every Jets fan cannot deny, whether you believe in him or not, he has arm talent. He has that, that elite potential arm that he can just absolutely rifle the ball down the field. He can change up arm angles. It's all about if he could put it together with his mind and his mechanics and his decision making and understand his offense. And him going into year number 2 with the same system, with the same offensive coordinator and the same coaching staff with Mike LaFleur, same playmakers around him, with adding guys around him, that's a continuity factor where if you want to compare where we were at with Sam Darnold after his rookie season, I know that Sam finished off his rookie season the same way in terms of positive. He finished off with a 6-2 record, and we're all like, all right, Sam finished off the season right. We have a lot of optimism. Well, the difference there was Sam finished off his rookie season, and then they fired Todd Bowles. They bring in Adam Gase. So at that moment, Sam has to learn an entire new offense, and the offense he's learning is Adam Gase's offense. So the difference now is Zach Wilson has Mike LaFleur as a rookie. Mike LaFleur did a tremendous job as a rookie offensive coordinator. I think every Jets fan is excited about his potential as the Jets OC. And now Zach Wilson doesn't have to learn an entire offense. He doesn't have to learn an entire new verbiage, new route tree, new play calls, and all this stuff. He has Corey Davis coming back, Elijah Moore coming back, Michael Carter. He's got people around him with familiar faces around him, and we're obviously going to add more talent. Plus, he's in the same exact system in year number 2. And not only is Zach Wilson going to develop this offseason, but Mike LaFleur will be as well. So I feel like Jets fans should understand that the continuity factor is a really big deal, and that should give us excitement about year number 2. So, Ali, what's your overall thoughts and your assessment of Zach Wilson's rookie season based on how he progressed, and what can you expect from him? And what do you want to improve on in year number 2 and beyond?
Yeah, the one thing I liked about what Zach did, after a rough start to his rookie season, there was a lot of hate against him. There was a lot of people hating on his gameplay and how he's throwing interceptions. He's doing all that stuff, and after that, after he came back from an injury, I feel like he was a different player. I think he was not thinking as much. He was using his athleticism, using his legs like he did in college. I feel like he finally was getting comfortable, and you saw that he was getting comfortable. You saw him looking at defenses and reading defenses better. He was making the right decisions. He was throwing the ball away. He was in tight spaces, hitting his receivers on cue. That's the Zach Wilson that we want to see. We want to see him move the football down the field. And the last couple of weeks, we were moving the football besides yesterday. But, last couple of weeks, we were moving the football down. Zach Wilson was making good reads. It's also a talent issue. We didn't have any talent on the football field. You have to understand that the Jets have no tight end out there. I mean, we had Daniel Brown out there and he got hurt. And then we had Kenny Yeboah for the full game. That's it. That was our only tight end. So, I mean, he was, with whatever he was working, he did pretty damn well. But, the next step for him is, again, those turnovers that he had in the beginning of the season, that can't happen again for him. Like even the best quarterbacks have a bad game here and there, but it can't be a consistent type thing. He needs to start off the season at a good amount of pace and continue for the rest of the season. He can't just have the full half of the season just throwing interceptions and making bad decisions. That's kind of like what Sam Darnold did the year or two for the Jets. And we can't just have that again with Zach Wilson. I feel like Zach Wilson, you just saw him, what the thing with Sam Darnold was he would think too much. And now when we saw at the end of the season, he was just playing ball. He wasn't thinking too much. He was finding his receivers. He was doing what he always did at BYU. And, he just gets mauled every single play, though. That's the problem with this offensive line. That's what Joe Douglas was preaching today. You need to upgrade that offensive line because your quarterback's getting killed. His drop back was 17 or something like that. That's that weird stat that CBS showed. And that he was pressured like 19 times. He was on the ground like 6. They had a record amount for the season of how many sacks they had yesterday, the Buffalo Bills. So, they were just mauling him yesterday, and he literally couldn't do anything. The offense wasn't moving the ball. The conditions were terrible. It just was not the ideal scenario for a rookie quarterback. So what I need to see from Zach Wilson is just to get better, man. He's gonna get more talent. He's gonna be back on the field. And he's gonna have more talent. He's gonna have his Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, like you said, back. Hopefully he'll have Mekhi Becton back. Maybe another weapon that we get from the offseason. But he'll have his team back. He'll have Mike LaFleur for our second year. He'll have an offensive coordinator that you worked with for a year come back again with him. And I feel like he just needs to make a step next year. He has to show that he's improved. He learned from last season, because the Jet schedule next year is not that easy either. So he's gonna have some tough opponents on the road, tough opponents at home. So he's gonna have to get ready. The Jets need to be competitive next year, and that also depends on Zach Wilson's performances. So the Jets need to improve on the offensive line. It's not all on Zach Wilson, but yeah, he needs to be more consistent with his throws. Those smaller throws, the little things that he needs to do as a quarterback, he needs to improve on. I know the flashes. We love those flashes throws. We like his zip on the ball for like 40 yards. But he needs to do the small stuff. Dump it off to the running back, dump it off to the tight end, quick throws, and not try to do too much and just overwork. So I think that's the improvement that he needs to make. And if he can, and we saw that last couple of games, if he can do that for an entire season, that'll go really well for him.
Yeah, exactly. Very well said. On top of Zach Wilson's development, we need the players around Zach Wilson to develop as well. And that includes Joe Douglas surrounding him with more talent. And that comes to, the draft conversation. Do you want to go to offensive players in the first round to surround Zach Wilson with protection and weapons? But at the same time, we still have a defensive issue. We got holes all over the place at safety, edge, linebacker, corner. So there's so many interesting conversations that's going to come up around this Jets offseason and what they want to do. If I'm the Jets, I really am falling in love with the idea of going offense in the first round with at least one of the picks. I feel like you cannot just go defense, and ignore Zach Wilson. If you want him to take that next step, you want to surround him with talent everywhere, because we see that the Jets, it seems like every single year, have injury issues all over the place. Like, hypothetically speaking, say the Jets were obviously somehow in the playoff race at the end of the season. How could we even be competitive in that race if everybody's injured? It's just so frustrating. Like, our top 5 receivers are down. Our top 3 tight ends are down. Our starting left tackle's out for the season. Our other left tackle goes down. Our center goes down. Our right tackle ends off the season hurt. Like, even if we were competitive, how could we possibly survive with all these injuries? And I'm happy someone asked Joe Douglas about that reoccurring issue, because it's not like it just happened last year. The Jets had the most cap space on the injured reserve list this season by any team for 2 straight seasons. Something needs to be fixed. I don't know what it is, but the injury curse is real, and that comes with luck, and that comes with preparation, that comes with the training staff, but that needs to be worked on, because we cannot survive. We cannot be a competitive playoff team if all these players continue to go down and down and down. So, when it comes to the draft, we got the 4th and 10th overall picks. You can sell me on drafting an offensive lineman at 4 and then a wide receiver at 10. I'm in love with the wide receiver at the 10 spot. I feel like that'll be a really good spot for the Jets to go out there, whether you want to get Wilson, Williams. There's a lot of potential really good wide receivers that's going to be available at number 10. You can sell me on, Karlaftis at number 4 as well. You want to value the line of scrimmage as much as possible. So, Ali, what's your thoughts about the 4th and 10th pick so far? How much draft research has you done? I know you're going to the Senior Bowl. So what is the 4th and 10th picks in your eyes, and what do you think the Jets should really look at the most when it comes to those 2 picks in particular?
Yeah, I haven't done much on the full draft. I'm trying to get into it now with the season being over. I've done some research on the Senior Bowl, obviously, because I'm going to it. But regardless of the Senior Bowl, the position groups that I feel like they should target are the skill positions, because I feel like talent beats everything, and the Jets need talent on this football team. I do think they could, with the 4th pick, I could see them doing a cornerback, the LSU cornerback. I could see them going edge if one of them drops, because look, it's a couple of months until the draft. These boards are going to go back and forth for a long, long time. So these boards are not set right now. They're going to move around like they do every year. So maybe one of these edge rushers, these big time edge rushers that everyone's falls, and at number 4, and what would you do? You probably would get that defense, and the Jets are pretty much last in pass defense too. So, and the defense just looked terrible this season. It was really bad. So they definitely need to go either edge or cornerback, I feel, with one of those picks. And then I'm very interested in grabbing a wide receiver at 10. I really, really do. I really want as many weapons for your young quarterback. I think Denzel Mims probably will get shipped for whatever they get for him. And then you just need to add another wide receiver. You need to add a top receiver, your wide receiver of choice. And you believe that will be a number 1 wide receiver for you, and just bring him in. I even if you bring Calvin, if we bring Calvin Ridley, then this is a different story. But if they don't do that, then they should go and get a wideout, because that's how you win football games. That offense needs a lot of help too. And the most important thing, obviously the defense needs a lot of work, but the most important thing is to not screw up your quarterback. You need to help your quarterback as much as possible before we have to do this cycle again. And the Jets are going to wait another couple of years. So what you need to do is go out and grab a receiver, get him weapons to throw to, because after what we saw yesterday, or what we saw all season of in and out wide receivers coming in and out, drop passes, perfectly placed ball from Zach Wilson, could have been a first down, just drop passes. I think it was Jeff Smith yesterday. He caught the ball. They could have had a first down, but he just didn't do it. He caught the ball and went the other way, and he got tackled for a loss, and it was not a first down. So these little things, they need some wide receivers that have a little bit of brain, that know how to work with a quarterback, can move the chains. And I really do feel like they need to go wide out with the 10th as of right now, because I don't know what the offseason is going to be like. But they need to go either cornerback or edge, depending on who falls at 4. And then maybe at 10, go a wide out.
Yeah, there's going to be so many different avenues for the Jets, especially with those 2 picks. Jets fans will be negotiating it for the next couple of months. And like Ali said, the draft boards are going to be going crazy. They're going to be going up. They're going to be down. There's all of a sudden, there's going to be a player in the top 10 that you never expected, a player, we all know how the draft works, and I'm excited to really dive deep into it. There's one scenario that I want to give up, and I'm not saying I would do this, but I'm just saying in Joe Douglas's brain, because we know that they value the line of scrimmage. I would not be shocked if the first 2 picks are on the line of scrimmage. 4th pick, hypothetically speaking, an edge rusher. 10th pick could be the offensive lineman. It could be Linderbaum. It could be a tackle. It could be a guard. Who knows who will be available at that point. But if the Jets really want to build this thing properly, like they said they are, Robert Saleh and Douglas are both aligned on visions, I would not be surprised. And I know a lot of Jets fans will not agree with this. I know you guys are going to say, no, we need the wide receiver. Because listen, I want a receiver at 10 just as much as anybody else. But I would not be shocked if we go edge at 4 and we get Linderbaum at 10. Because listen, I'm in love with Linderbaum. I know a lot of Jets fans are, divided on this. We don't need a center. We don't need a center. Connor McGovern had a good season. Connor McGovern's not the future of this team. He got injured at the end of the year, and McGovern could slide it into right guard. If you draft Linderbaum, he could be, the center for the future with AVT, and McGovern goes to right guard where he has experience in that interior offensive line with Becton hopefully back at left tackle, and then you can and then Fant will be at right tackle. That is a pretty good offensive line, if I had to say. So I'm not saying it's going to happen, but just say it's definitely a big possibility, because I know how much Joe Douglas values not only the offensive line, but the trenches in general, because you need to be able to build this thing properly. And the way that they want to do it is inside out. So if it's Karlaftis at 4 and Linderbaum at 10, what do you think about that approach if the Jets go that way, Ali, in terms of building this thing through the line of scrimmage? And then the second round, you use it on wide receiver and the playmakers, and maybe a wide receiver corner in the second round or something, just hypothetically speaking.
Yeah, because I just want one of those picks to help your quarterback. That's kind of what I want, because you need to,
No doubt.
If you really want to develop a football team, yes, you need to improve both sides of the ball. But right now, you need to protect your quarterback, because your quarterback, first of all, got hurt this year. And then also, he's just been crushed every single play. Even if he delivers a good throw, he still gets hit. So you need to get an offensive line. You need to improve that offensive line. Get guys get weapons for him, because all these drop passes is driving me nuts. And it's just yeah, I would not be bad with any of these scenarios. Like literally nothing, because the Jets have so many holes right now that they could use any type of weapon right now. Wide receivers approach could completely change if the Jets, how Joe Douglas said he'll be aggressive, maybe trading for a player if they go out and get Calvin Ridley, or if they get another top-notch receiver in free agency. We don't know what's going to happen. Maybe he just goes out and gets one of these guys. So the wide receiver could change instantly. And if we do trade for Ridley or some type of guy, um, you know, with the 10th pick, go offensive line. Get that center that everyone wants, and to improve your football team, because now your line is literally a first round for like literally a first year, second year, and a third year. So like they're
First round,
all
yeah.
young. They're all young players. So and then Mekhi Becton, we'll see how a lot of people are doubting him for a while, right? The entire year. So we'll see how he comes back, how healthy he is, how fast he is after the injuries. But if we want to go edge with the four, because the Jets defense does need a lot of help. I feel like the quarterbacks that we played had so much time to throw the ball. There was literally no pressure on the quarterbacks at all, besides like 2 games. And then obviously in the later rounds, cornerback, safety, all these positions need to be addressed. But yes, again, there's so many holes for this football team right now that literally anything looks good. Besides a quarterback and maybe a running back, we really don't need. We need every other position. So, and maybe even a tight end later, and maybe take an early tight end in the second, third round, because the Jets need a tight end. So,
Trey McBride, baby, future Jet.
McBride, I just did a draft profile on him today. I released it because he'll be at the Senior Bowl, so I get to see him live. Hopefully, the Jets actually are be coaches in Senior Bowl. They could actually, if the Texans fire their coach. So, but yeah, I think anything for the draft purposes, anything's possible. I feel like maybe with even the 10th pick, they might even trade down, to
Yeah, for
acquire
sure.
picks, because that's kind of a Douglas type move. Just move down a little bit and wait for a player to drop to him. But right now, I'm right now with nothing going on, no moves in free agency. My gut is going edge or a cornerback at 4, depending on what edge drops to 4, and then a wide receiver at 10. That's how I feel right now. That will definitely change if the Jets go out and
Yeah.
get a top receiver.
Yeah, everything's going to change. Obviously, when free agency comes and goes, that's when the mock drafts become real, because you can fill a lot of holes in free agency, and especially in the trade market as well. I just, like, me knowing Joe Douglas and his values, I just cannot see him passing on Tyler Lindenbaum if he's on the clock, if he's available when he's on the clock, just knowing Joe Douglas, because that man is the best pure offensive lineman in this draft. And I don't know, just knowing Douglas and knowing his values and knowing where he comes from, as a former offensive lineman himself, I just feel like it'll be hard for him to push the button to draft someone else when he's available. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. If he wants to draft a receiver, get Jamison Williams, because that's my guy, for sure. He's my draft crush as well. Big time guy that I want. He'll be playing tonight, which is going to be fun to watch. And then obviously the second round, we got 2 early second round picks. Trey McBride is someone that I really want in that second round, big time. He's a tight end, who is a versatile guy that can do everything, blocking, do everything that you want for a tight end. I also feel like the Jets should be in on Schultz for the tight end position, because we need to upgrade that spot big time. Zach Wilson relies on the tight end position all the time, especially in college. So if we can upgrade that position big time, I'd love to do that. But at the same time, the defense needs to be, prioritized as well. Whether that's going to be free agency or the draft, I don't know what it's going to be. But we need premier talent at linebacker next to C.J. Mosley. We had two holes at safety. We need a corner. We need another edge rusher. So how they're going to supplement this roster is going to be interesting. But Joe Douglas needs to be creative and think outside the box. Go out there, make some trades, get some big-time players in here. Be aggressive, because now's the time. I don't want them to go all in to win it all next year, but they need to be aggressive to bring in players where the Jets are a competitive football team next year, and just really be getting back to competitive football. So that's my really thoughts about that. I feel like Joe Douglas is in a really, really good situation right now. He's well positioned to be an aggressive GM. He's going to year number 3. And listen, the reason why, if I'm a Jets fan and I'm looking for a reason of optimism, this is what I have to say. This is the first time that the Jets have someone in charge in Joe Douglas that's building it the right way in order to sustain long-term success, right? Now, I'm not saying that it's guaranteed that he's going to do it properly in terms of hitting on his draft picks and spending on the right players. But the only way that the Jets are going to dig themselves out of this nightmare of being a bad franchise for the past 10 years is by absolutely ripping it down from the ground up and build a foundation and commit to young players and developing. And that's exactly the year we're coming off of. The Jets just had 10 rookies getting big time playing time all over the place and a lot of second year players. We have the youngest roster in the NFL. Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh are committed to developing the young guys for this team and developing a culture. Because if you remember the past previous Jets GMs, they always went for the short, quick fix. They always tried to go all in with old veterans and sign Le'Veon Bells and Tremaine Johnsons of the world and all these guys that's past their prime. And now they're trying to rip it down and build from the ground up. And the unfortunate reality of that is it takes more time. But that's the only way possible that this Jets organization will become a competitive football team year in and year out. And we're in the middle of the rebuild. We're going into year number 2 of Robert Saleh, of this foundation that we got. I feel like Jets fans should be excited about the pieces that we have on offense. We have a quarterback who is going to enter year number 2 with a lot of promise. We got a franchise left guard in the draft. We got a wide receiver with so much upside in Elijah Moore. We got Michael Carter at the running back spot. That's 4 foundational pieces in one draft class. And then you flip over to the defense. I feel like the secondary was a big time hit for Joe Douglas in this draft. Michael Carter II is going to be our starting slot corner, I believe, next year. Bryce Hall, that was 2020 in the 5th round. That 2020 draft class is not looking good. Bryce Hall is the only gem from that. He deserves a lot of credit. Brandon Echols was probably the steal of the entire draft for Joe Douglas, just in terms of value. Getting him in the 6th round, that's a home run of a pick. He's going to provide big-time depth for years to come. Brandon Echols is really good for a 6th-round pick. So if Joe Douglas can replicate what he did in 2021 with the 2022 draft class with the capital that he has, then we're really going to be set up for the future, because what Douglas is doing is everything you need in order to have that big picture of thinking long-term, building it from the ground up. Now, will it all come together and will it work? That is, we don't know. Only time will tell. But the good sign is they're doing everything they need to do in order for it to come together. They are building a foundation. They're sacrificing a season like they did last year to the young development of the players, because last year, if we wanted to, guys, Robert Saleh and Douglas could have been like, all right, we have all this cap space. Let's sign this veteran. Let's go all in. Let's try to compete for this division. And then we all know that the roster is not talented enough, even if we spend a lot of money, where we're going to be competitive. They're giving young players the time to develop, and the foundation is there. And that should give Jets fans excited because of the future and the long-term approach that this Jets team has. So what's your thoughts about that, Ali, of the approach from Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh to really be committed to the development of the young core to try to build this thing properly, and that's through the draft? Because as we know, 2020 draft class, not good. 2021 draft class could be historic, especially if Zach Wilson pans out.
Yeah, since the beginning of the season, Robert Saleh has been preaching that he's going to give these young guys a shot. He releases Bless Austin in preseason, and we were all like, what's our move? Are we going Richard Sherman? Are we going anywhere? No, he's trying to give these young guys a shot at winning football games for them, getting experience. And, these young guys in the secondary have shown success. They've struggled a lot. Obviously, with rookies, you're going to struggle a lot. But you've seen flashes. You've seen Michael Carter make plays all year. Bryce Hall has locked up a lot of receivers this year. He has his hiccups, but overall he's been pretty good. And if he can get some stuff good with him and skill wise, he can be a top corner really soon if he really wanted to. He has the skills and that he could become one. And just the trust that this coaching staff has for the young guys goes a long way. And Joe Douglas, even in his presser, was like, today was a good day because all the players in the locker room are happy. They're happy They're obviously not happy that we had only 4 wins, but they're happy about the coaching staff. They're happy about where this team is headed. And I don't feel like we've had this energy in a while. Like this type of energy. Yeah, we had the Rex Ryan days, the Todd Bowles 10-6 season, but nothing like this. A guy, people where they trust their coaching staff, the GM's openly saying that this guy's the reason this entire locker room is doing well. They're excited for next season. They're ready to go. But now what they need to do is get more young guys in there. I feel like they have a foundation right now, but now they need to get playmakers. They need to go out and get playmakers for this football team to even get better, because 6 wins in the last 2 seasons not going to cut it anymore. You need to go win some ball games. You need to be in these football games throughout the entire 4 quarters of football. So to do that, because you're also, these young rookies have a year on their belt now. They understand what they have to do. You're gonna get more talent in the cornerback room, in the in the linebacker, hopefully. And hats off to CJ Mosley for carrying this squad in the defense this season. After all the criticism he had for the last 2 years, he showed his money's worth being the MVP for the team. So all these guys are stepping up. They like what they're seeing. Even CJ Mosley was like, I don't talk much, but I'm going to try to recruit some guys to the New York Jets, because these guys like the culture that Robert Saleh has brought. The coaching staff has done well. LaFleur has done well. And I think they're building something great. And then on the offensive side, you have an offensive line with Elijah Mackay, and then you probably will draft a couple of other young guys. You have Elijah Moore still. You have Zach Wilson and your quarterback. You have Michael Carter. You have such young guys on this football team that have showed flashes. All categories for us were led by rookies on offense. So, that's saying a lot how Joe Douglas has drafted, especially this last draft, which looks like a home run draft class. So, as of now. So, we'll see how this pans out, but I do like the approach of going young, trying to figure out their own. Because if you look at the Seahawks, if you look at the Patriots, or the Seahawks, even when they did the Legion of Boom, they drafted those guys. They drafted a lot of those when they were going to the Super Bowl. They drafted all those players themselves, and that's why they were so successful. They were winning ball games, and they went to the Super Bowl. You got to build from the trenches. The Jets have never built from the trenches. They always go for the big time players in free agency and just collapse. They just don't do anything. So for the first time, I'm seeing a different approach, and it's actually working. You're actually seeing a difference on the football field, and you're seeing a different locker room vibe. And you see, even after a bad season, they're positive in there. They're all happy about it, and they're happy to be back next season. Even Zach Wilson put out an Instagram post saying that he's ready to go. He's going to go back to work, back in the lab after a few days off, which is awesome. All these guys are ready to work. They're ready to play. And now if you add more talent that they should bring in, and that's why, again, I'm going to repeat it again, this is a very important offseason for the Jets, because the Jets need to be competitive next year. They need to be competitive. There's no excuses anymore. And what they're going to have to do is bring more young guys in, but also bring talent in. And we'll see how they approach it. But so far, from what this season is, I didn't expect them to go to playoffs. I didn't expect them to win a lot of games. I just wanted to see these rookies, these young guys develop. And I feel like more than half of them did.
Yeah, for sure, man. That's very well said. I feel like the Jets' approach this offseason is going to be detrimental for the future of this entire organization, and that makes me really nervous. So, guys, the end off the stream, we're going to get into a Jets Q&A. So anybody in the comment section, let us know what you want us to talk about, any topics. If you guys want to come in and talk to Ali myself, I'll leave the link as well. So listen, if you guys want to ask away any questions in the chat, please feel free to do so. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. There's a lot of things that you can ask, whether that's the draft talk, whether that's free agency talk, whether that's who we should bring back in free agency or not. So let it have it. Nolan says competitive. You have too high expectations. It's going to be a few years. They are going through a rebuild still. Yeah, of course they're still going through a rebuild, but if they win 4 games again or 5 games again, that's going to be an issue. They need to have a drastically improvement. They need to be competing with any team, honestly. Listen, this season we went up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, almost beat them. We beat the number 1 seed in the AFC, the Tennessee Titans. We beat the Cincinnati Bengals. Like, the New York Jets have the ammunition to be able to be a competitive team. I mean, there's rookie coaches out there or year 2 guys that take that next step, and there's no reason why this Jets team, I'm not saying the Jets got to win the division. I'm not saying they need to make the playoffs. I'm saying they need to be a competitive football team. If that's too much to ask in year number 2, I understand that they're going through a rebuild still, and there's a lot of young guys, but I don't know. I'm not expecting any playoffs.
I expect them to be in the conversation come December. I don't think they're gonna make it, but I need to see competitive. I feel like that I know they're a few years back or whatever, but that excuse has gone down the drain because I feel like the Jets can be competitive if they just bring in the right players, and I think they could get the players this offseason. They can get talent this offseason that they can improve on. I don't expect like completely different numbers, but it definitely can happen because the Jets have a chance. They have they have the money, they have the draft picks to make it happen, put wins on the board. And I feel like the Jets could have won a couple more games this year.
Yeah, I agree. Pat Riley asks, what was your favorite Jet moment this year? Mine has to be the Zach Wilson touchdown and Corey Davis against the Titans. I'll never forget that moment. The first 3 games are rough for Zach. We haven't won a game yet. We're 0-3 going up against the Titans with Derrick Henry. And when Zach Wilson made that pass, that was the first time where I'm like, wow, he actually does have ridiculous potential, because that was unbelievable. Not a lot of quarterbacks can do what he just did there. So that was my favorite moment, and especially winning that game because we beat the first seed in the AFC right now. They're not even playing this weekend because they're the best team in the AFC record-wise. They dealt with adversity so much without Henry and all those guys, but that had to be my favorite moment, even though there were a bunch of other ones that were good, but not too many. So, Ali, what was your favorite Jets moment?
I got to say the same thing, honestly, because I feel like that game is when I was kind of hyped up that the Jets are winning this football game. And kind of just that kind of made me realize that Zach Wilson might be the guy for this football team. How he directed the traffic. He was directing traffic with his finger. He was like, bro, go along, and it's kind of like backyard football where, like, when you're playing in the back, you're just like, go long, bro, go long. And that's kind of what he just did. And, that's kind of flashes that we could probably see in the future for this football team. So that probably was the best game of the season. I feel like performance-wise, it was against Tampa, but the most exciting game was probably Tennessee.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Hawk, this is my dream scenario as well for the tight end position. Sign Dalton Schultz, draft Trey McBride, rebuild the tight end room completely. Now, this is exactly my vision for the tight end room, because we know that the tight end group is absolutely atrocious. There shouldn't be anybody on this roster right now coming back on the tight end spot. Maybe Kenny Yeboah on the practice squad. But Croft should be gone. Griffin can walk. Daniel Brown could walk. Like, go out there, pay Dalton Schultz, who is an experienced tight end in this league at only 25 years old, has so much potential in the prime of his career. Give him money. We are the 4th team in the NFL with cap space. Pay the man. Bring in more weapons for Zach Wilson, and then draft Trey McBride in the 2nd round so we can develop him behind Schultz, because we play a lot of 2 tight end sets. So there's nothing wrong with having 2 tight ends, just like there's nothing wrong with having 3 wide receivers or 2 running backs. You need to have multiple tight ends. Would you be on board with this approach, Ali, in the offseason?
Yeah, so I just did an entire article on Trey McBride, and I watched all film on him. The man does everything, man. He's a blocker. He's a vicious blocker. He's kind of like an offensive lineman, honestly, because he did wrestling in high school. So he kind of gets that from that. He's a vicious. He knows how to catch the ball and do yards after catch. And, when he has the ball in his hands, he can knock players out of his way. He literally is a tank. And he literally will do anything your team wants you to do. He'll be a blocker. He'll catch the ball. He'll do whatever you want. And that's a type of player I feel like could elevate an offense, because he just does everything on the football field for a quarterback. And that's actually what a young quarterback needs, is a guy that can catch the ball, but also protect him. So I think if the Jets somehow were to get Trey, because I feel like he's going to be on the radar for all 32 football teams. I bet. But he's a guy that can succeed and move the chains easily. And he's a guy that could elevate your team. And he's a team player. He's a leader. And I feel like if the Jets have a chance to grab him, man, he's a guy. That's elevating your tight end room and completely revamping your offense if you get Dalton Schultz and Trey McBride.
Yeah, even if you don't get Schultz, you got to sign a veteran tight end, whoever it is, but you could still target McBride. We have a really good situation because he's a guy that I don't think he's going to be a first-round pick, but he's going to be a guy that goes in that second round, and we have 2 second-round picks. So, Douglas, please make it happen. Please, please, please. Rich asks, do you think Lawson comes back at 100% next season? Unfortunately, we don't know. The Achilles injury can derail your career big time, which is really unfortunate. But the good sign is Carl Lawson got hurt in the beat like before the season, so he had so much time to recover, where I feel like he'll be ready to go by next season for sure. That's the only positive with his injury is the time that it happened. It happened during training camp instead of like happening week 8. Then he's going to be like probably missing the first part of the season. Only time will tell. But if Lawson was going to have the season that we all expected him to do because of how much he was dominating in training camp, and if he can be like 75% of that, that'll be big. So hopefully Lawson can come back healthy and just play a full season. That's really all I want. Just stay healthy, man. Just be on the field and be available and play football. Like,
That's all we asked for.
Yeah, right. Let's see. Any other questions in the chat? Let me know. Yeah, we went over this already, Brendan. Who do you think Douglas will take, and who do you want Douglas to take with 4th and 10th? That's going to be up for debate for the next 2 or 3 weeks. 2 or 3 months. I don't know who is it going to be, but I wouldn't be shocked if at least one of the 2, if not both, are from the trenches, offensive line or defensive line. Playmakers as well. Wide receiver is very well in tune at 10. I'm not really sold on the idea of the safety, Kyle Hamilton, that every Jets fan is in love with. I know that he's a dynamic player, but just in terms of like value of like what this team needs more than anything else, it's trenches. If we had a dominant defensive line and a dominant offensive line, we can get away with drafting a safety at that spot. But I don't really think the Jets are in a position to do that. Not saying he's not a big time, talent, but I don't know. I just don't see that happening. So it's going to be up in the air. I can see a lot of different ways. I love the Jets' idea of going wide receiver at 10. I will not be upset if we draft Linderbaum as well at 10. I really am in love with him as a prospect. I know a lot of Jets fans are divided on that topic, but hey, what else is there to do other than debate during draft season as Jets fans? You know what I mean? Let's see. Do you think we found our field goal kicker? What do you think, Ali? Is Eddie Pinheiro, who goes 8 for 8 as a New York Jet this season, hitting a 49-yard field goal yesterday? Should the Jets have him as a starting kicker next year, or should they go another way?
I think they should bring a competition in for him. I feel like his accuracy is good, but maybe his leg is a little bit not too. I feel like it's just not. His accuracy is good, and that's great, but then he just doesn't have enough legs sometimes, I feel. But I don't know. I think he's done pretty well so far. I feel like he hit that field goal in Buffalo with a lot of wind, and it was a pretty good kick. So I think it was like 40 yards or something like that.
49.
So, yeah.
49,
So yeah, 50 yards. So, yeah, I feel like he's done well. I think he deserves to be on the team next year. But I would probably bring competition in.
Yeah, I agree. So, what do the Jets need to focus on in free agency with the $60 million cap space? I think that the Jets need to be aggressive in this free agency, but not get too crazy at the same time. I feel like they need to, if they're going to spend money, I think Joe Douglas is going to spend money on the defensive and offensive line, number one. It really is up to their approach with the draft as well. They both coexist. If they want to sign a free agent wide receiver and pay him big money, then we're not going to draft the receiver in the first round, So I feel like the Jets, they signed their free agent receiver in Corey Davis. We're giving him a decent contract with $12 million. Obviously, he did not have the best season with the Jets. But I don't feel like they're going to spend big on a receiver in free agency, even though they easily could if they want to throw the bag at Devontae Adams or, Allen Robinson. Maybe his probably value is a little low right now in the market based on his season. So it'll be really interesting to see how they approach the free agency market. I feel like we need to upgrade the secondary. I think we need to bring in proven veterans at the safety spot, linebacker spot, and continue to build around Zach with the money. You know, it's not only through the draft, but I feel like Douglas is going to continue his approach in free agency of signing guys at like 26, 27 years old, you know, right there, the prime age of their career, but also bringing in sound veterans that can instill some, you know, winning right now. And we'll see what happens. Maybe David Njoku from the Browns if we strike out on Schultz. Yeah, you know, that's a possibility. It's not a guarantee that Schultz even hits the open market. You know, the Dallas Cowboys can franchise tag him. They can extend him for all we know. That the Cowboys are a pretty insane team right now in terms of what they've been doing for the past couple of seasons in terms of building through the draft. So who knows what if Schultz even hits the open market. I'd be definitely open to David Njoku for sure. We need anybody on this tight end room. Anybody. Trey McBride with the Panther pick. Yes, sir. I'm down. This is a question that I hate these questions because it's predictions, right? How many touchdown passes will Wilson have next year? Over or under 25? What do you think about this one?
How many did it end with this
9.
year? 9. I could see if they get like maybe Calvin Ridley on the football team and he stays healthy for the full season. Healthy, that's a key word.
Yeah,
if
the health factor is so huge for this question. Like, can you add to the question? Does he have healthy receivers through the whole year, or is the entire receiving unit going to be inconsistently injured, including with his playmakers at running back and tight end? Like, is he going to have a season of healthy playmakers, or is he going to have to deal with backups? Because I think that's a big part of the question.
I think it'll probably be more like I probably will be under, but I think like it would be like 23, 22.
Yeah, my prediction with Zach is he's going to show good signs of development next year, and he's going to have a better season as a rookie season. But I think year 3 is when, if Zach Wilson becomes elite and becomes an actual quarterback in this league, that's when he's going to do it. I don't really expect him to take that step in year 2 to become like a top 15, top 12 quarterback. But I feel like if he is ever going to become that top 10 quarterback that we all wish he can become, that's going to be year number 3. Because you give them another year. And I don't know. I just really look at what Josh Allen did with the Buffalo Bills because I feel like that's a really good blueprint. If you remember what they did, they had the same coaching staff when they drafted Josh Allen with Brian Dable and Sean McDermott. He had 3 years in the same system. Now they're in year 4. And I feel like, you know, Josh Allen did not have the best year number 2, guys. And some Bills fans are scratching their head if he's even the guy. But year number 3, they went out there and got Stephon Diggs, and that's when Josh Allen really – and obviously everyone's different. We're not going to have the same exact situation as them, but Josh Allen took that next step because it was year 3 in the same system, and that's what really I think is going to happen with Wilson. I think he's going to have under 25 touchdowns this season, but over 25 touchdowns in year 3. That's my prediction. I could be wrong. Could be on the money. Well, Jets Forever says Zach Wilson's winning MVP next season. So that's true. And he will also have 43 touchdowns. All right, Jets Forever. I'll hold you accountable on that take, baby. I love it. I love it. Let's see. He also wants to draft 2 tight ends. I won't be opposed to that. Do Jets have enough money to build a complete team? Are they sustainable players to sell? This is a business at the end. What do you think about this question, Ali, from Diego?
Enough money this season? This offseason? Yeah. I mean, you probably can establish a team that can win football games. I don't think it'll be a complete team. I think the Jets have too many holes to get a complete football team. When the season starts, they might be a much better football team with the players they acquire through the draft and free agency. And if they trade for someone, but I don't know if they're going to be a complete team by the end of the offseason. I just think there's way too many holes on this football team that if you want to be a complete team, it's going to take a little bit of time to become a full team. It's good to have the coaching staff coming back next year, the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. But as a player wise, I think they'll have a much improved football team. from like this year. I really do think they're going to take another step and bring in players to help the football team. But having a complete team is just kind of out of reach because I think they don't have enough money, but they're not going to hit on every free agency like acquire. Especially in the draft, you're not going to hit on every single pick. So it's just all over the place with that. I don't think it's going to be a completely.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think
team.
that they're not going to become a complete team in this offseason, which is why I say year 3 in the system and year 3 with Zach. I think he's potentially going to take that next step because they could be a complete team by then. I don't know about right now. There's way too many holes to fill, and it's the reality. Obviously, we want to say that they're going to be in the Super Bowl next year, but it's just not happening. I'm not going to, be delusional here and say that the Jets are going to go all the way and they're going to be a complete team and all this stuff, but we'll see. Should we look up the trade for a 3rd first-round pick? That's a good question. We have the capital to get it done. If we pick 4, we pick 10, and all of a sudden, at 23, there's somebody available that Douglas really is in love with. We have the capital to do it. We traded up last year, so I don't see why it would be a problem this year. What do you think about this, Ali?
Yeah, I just don't know if I want to trade up again unless like an insane player is available still. I would probably stay with my draft picks unless we trade down with our 10th overall pick. I think we're gonna stick with our 4th and draft whoever is there for us. But with the 10th, I think they might just trade down and get more picks that way. But moving up to get another first round is going to be hard. I think they might even use some of these draft picks for a trade for a different player, established player already. So if they do something like that, I don't think they're going to trade up anytime because they don't want to lose all their draft capital just like that. So,
yeah. Which position requires the most depth? I had to say wide receiver. And the reason I say that is because you need a lot of wide receivers to play in this league. You need like 3 healthy on the field at once, potentially 4 with some packages. And the past 2 years, this is the one position that we cannot stay healthy at ever. Did you guys see who was on the field on Sunday for Zach Wilson and the Jets offense? Denzel Mims, Keelan Cole, Black. I don't know who you are. Good catch, though. Your first NFL catch was insane. And Jeff Smith. I mean, that can't happen in January, guys. Like, we need depth at the wide receiver position. We also need depth at the offensive line position. We also need depth at the tight end position. I mean, there's depth. You need depth everywhere. But in the most important, I would have to say offensive line for sure. Because, when you're banged up, I think the depth really showed up for this Jets offensive line this year outside of the game on Sunday. Because think about it. We were down our left tackle, Mekhi Becton, for the entire season. Fant steps in. Morgan Moses steps in. And they did a phenomenal job just in terms of being serviceable. They were not dominant by any means besides Fant in the pass blocking. And I don't know. I feel like offensive line is a big-time one as well. When it comes to defense, you need to be deep at safety because we played like 15 separate safeties this year. I don't know. I feel like depth at the cornerback spot's good. Big shout-out to Bryce Hall because Bryce Hall not only had a phenomenal season, but he played all 17 games. That's huge, especially with having injury concerns coming out of college. So, great stuff from Bryce Hall. I saw an interesting question. Pat says, which player were you the most surprised by his great play this year, and which player disappointed you the most? Ali, what are your thoughts about this question? It's a good question from Pat.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, which player were you most surprised by? Everybody in the chat answer this question as well. Which player were you most surprised by? Which player were you most disappointed by?
It's a hard one. I got to think about this one.
It is hard because the players that played well, there's not many, but there's definitely a nice young. I know some. I think Braxton Berrios is the surprising one for me.
That's a good one. That's a really good one.
Yeah. Braxton Berrios is probably the most underappreciated Jet ever since he came in. Every time Crowder went down, even the past couple seasons, he was productive. And that's to the point where I'm like in fantasy, I'm like, do I pick up Braxton every single time Crowder's not playing and start him? Like he's a really good receiver in special teams. So he's probably a player that you can say most surprised.
Disappointed, probably Denzel. Probably.
Yeah. Yeah, Mims is definitely the disappointment one. I think that Jets fans had high expectations from him. We all wanted him. We were all ecstatic when we drafted him. But yeah, there's a bunch of other disappointing guys. I would say. Who else is really disappointing? Mims is probably the biggest one. You know, there are some disappointing players in terms of injuries. Carl Lawson disappointed. I'd say Corey Davis was a little disappointing in terms of his drop rate. Other surprise that are good players was Brandon Echols as a 6th-round rookie, picking off the GOAT, having a pick 6. He had a phenomenal rookie season as a 6th-round pick. Michael Carter II had a phenomenal season as a slot corner. I thought Michael Carter was going to be a good player as a rookie, but I think he surprised me. Where I'm looking at him and I'm like, I have confidence in him being a 3-down back for the forever. Like, I don't really think we need to upgrade the running back position outside of depth. So I was excited about Michael Carter when we drafted him, the running back at the 4th round, but I feel like he exceeded my expectations just a little bit. Would you agree?
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, Fant was the most surprising for me for a great play.
Yeah,
especially because we didn't really I didn't really expect, especially with Mekhi Becton going down, him stepping in. I think he did a pretty good job all season, protecting, and he did absolutely insane. I feel like he protected. I think he could have. Zach Wilson would have been under pressure if Fant did not play the way he did. So I think Fant deserves a lot of credit for what he did, stepping in with Mekhi Becton being out.
Yeah, I think the biggest disappointment is the free agent class for the Jets.
Yeah.
Not even like playing, just not being available. I mean, guys, Carl Lawson was our big ticket free agent out for the season. Corey Davis had a disappointing season. He started off really good. We got to give Corey Davis some credit. He had 2 touchdowns on opening day. He had that phenomenal game against the Titans, but he was not consistent enough, and he had a lot of drops. And he had season-ending injury. So he was out for the season at one point. Vinny Curry was supposed to provide veteran leadership on the edge. He was out for the entire season. LaMarcus Joyner was supposed to be our starting safety that we got in free agency. He's out for the season. Jared Davis, who was supposed to be our linebacker next to CJ Mosley, was injured for the first part of the season and came back, couldn't even do anything. So, that's just 5 free agents that we got last year that were flops. And most of it's because we couldn't stay in the field. It's not because they didn't play well. They couldn't stay healthy. So, I don't know, man. Free agency is going to be a big-time test this year because if we can't stay healthy, you're not going to be able to do anything.
No.
So frustrating. Just stay healthy, guys. I mean, what do we have to do? Is it the training staff? Like, what's good? What's good? Health. CJ Mosley could be another surprising guy just because he was a big question mark coming in based on we haven't seen him play in 2 years. He had a career high in tackles. He had his 2nd most tackles in Jets history. You see him being the quarterback of the defense that's statistically the worst in the NFL. So you kind of feel like you had a bad season, but individually he had a great season. Let's see. Any other questions, guys, in the chat? Don't forget to let me know. Jets Forever says JFM disappointed. I would have to disagree with this. I feel like John Franklin Myers had a really good start to the season. He had that dominant performance against the Texans. And we also have to realize that JFM has been playing out of position all year. Like, he's not an edge rusher. Like, he's a versatile guy, and that's great to have. But he is way more comfortable lining up on the interior on that defensive line. So that's why we're hopeful that we can go out there and get an edge rusher in this offseason. So John Franklin Myers does not have to play on edge. He can bounce inside, and it'll be whoever edge rusher we get in the offseason with JFM, Quinnen, and Carl Lawson. Like, that's the dream defensive line. And I feel like that's a big reason why JFM might not have went off. But if you look at his numbers, JFM had a really productive season. In yesterday's game, John Franklin Myers dominated. Like, he didn't get home on a sack, but he was going crazy on that right tackle all game long. I noticed it. He was winning his matchup individually every single rep. I'm happy that we gave him that extension. I feel like he's a player that's only going to get better with time as well. Very versatile. Let's see. Yeah, everyone's agreeing with CJ. Let's see. Any other questions? Let's see. Rose was the player I was most disappointed with. Denzel. I mean, Denzel Mims, I'm over him. Sorry, Denzel. I defended you so much. Like, I've tried to see it, but I just think it's all mental with him. I really feel like it's a lack of effort. It's a lack of engine, and maybe it's a lack of passion for the game. And Robert Saleh said in a press conference like a couple weeks ago that players expose themselves every day on if they truly have a passion for the game. There's a difference of using football as a job and a difference of having football as your passion and your love. You know, a perfect example of someone that loves the game of football, Michael Carter. And Denzel Mims could be a player that just doesn't love it. And he's just like, yeah, you know, talented. I just try to do my job. And if you don't have that love for the game, you're not going to become a great player. And I feel like that might be it. I could be wrong. He could have a breakout season in year 3. He could go to another team and have a breakout season. But as of right now, I don't think Denzel is part of the future at all. Mm-hmm. Do you think CJ's a top 10 linebacker? Yeah, I do. He compares numbers to any linebacker in the NFL. He's right up there with the top 10. Would you trade a 2nd and 5th to Seattle for DK? I don't think this would happen. I don't really feel like
nope.
This is realistic. Especially after we finessed Seattle. I feel like Seattle's gonna be like, yeah, no more trades with Joe Douglas. But DK is awesome. I mean, if he becomes available in the trade market, then yeah, you get aggressive because I'm a big DK fan. I always love DK Metcalf, but I don't see this happening. Do you think Corey Davis is a number 1 receiver, or do we sign and draft one? I think Elijah Moore's better than Corey Davis. I think right as we speak right now, Elijah Moore's a number 1 receiver on this team. I feel like we need to acquire a number 1 though this offseason via the free agency or the draft. If I had to prefer one, I'd rather draft one, bring in a Jamison Williams, and all of a sudden we have 3, guys that can be big time receivers. I don't see Corey Davis as a number 1 receiver. He's not getting paid number 1 receiver money. He's getting paid number 2 receiver money. That's what people need to realize. Like, listen, if you hit the open market, you're going to get paid. Like, people always look at contracts like, oh, this team overpaid. The Jets overpaid. Every single player is basically overpaid. It's just how the market plays out. The Jets gave Corey Davis that contract, $12.5 million. That's not crazy. Like, if you look at where the market value is and compare his numbers to other receivers, like compare it to Kenny Golladay. The Giants gave Kenny Golladay $72 million. That man had 0 touchdowns. Like, Corey Davis, even though he was not healthy, he got in the end zone 4 times. So he's not a number 1 receiver. He's not getting paid number 1 receiver money. We need to go out there and acquire another big-time receiver. What's your thoughts about Corey Davis and the receiver room?
Yeah, I did like Corey Davis signing. I really did. I think he's a good receiver. I think we were trying to bring him as a number 1. But when you saw Elijah Moore out there, I feel like he opened up a little bit more because he's not a number 1, but he's a solid number 2. He's like a good number 2 wide receiver.
Yeah.
And the connection it was building with Zach Wilson and Corey Davis. You saw them trying in preseason. You saw them trying in practices, training camp, and you saw them do it in games. So I think for Corey Davis purposes, I think the money was good. We just got to see him back next year, ready to go. And then we just have a healthy core again because the Jets, again, like we said, had no healthy wide receivers literally all season. So, we need those guys back and healthy, which is very important. And obviously, we're going to hopefully go out and get maybe 2 more wide receivers because I think half this wide receiver crew is going to be out. So especially Denzel Mims, probably he's done. So we'll see what happens with that. But Corey Davis, I think, was a great signing. I think it will pay off soon. Hopefully next season if he stays healthy.
Yeah, I don't know the exact amount of games or snaps, so don't quote me on this. but it's sad the amount of times that we saw Zach Wilson on the field at the same time with Michael Carter, Corey Davis, and Elijah Moore all healthy together at the same time. I think that maybe happened 2 games out of 17. Did you guys hear what I just said? Like, that's ridiculous. Like, how do you expect them to gain continuity and chemistry if they just can't be on the field together? It felt like any player that Zach was getting comfortable with would go down. That is really frustrating. So 2 games, the Jets had Michael Carter, Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, and Zach Wilson on the field at the same time. Do we beat the Bucs or Bills with a fully healthy offense and defense? Hey, man, you can argue that they could have. Why? The Jets were down by 3 points against the Bills yesterday. And then the Bills realized this team has no talent on them, and they're all injured, and they're playing with backups. Let's finally put the pedal on the gas. Because, guys, you got to give the Jets credit for what they pulled off yesterday. And yes, they lost by 27-10. They didn't cover the spread. They got destroyed in terms of yards, total yards from each team. But they competed their asses off against a Buffalo Bills team that's fully healthy, that's ready to go to the playoffs. The Jets were playing a practice squad team, and they're competing against them. Hey, if we're fully healthy, I like to see us potentially win that game, and maybe we win the game against the Bucs. Hypothetical, you can't really go in the past and change anything, but you never know. It's really interesting to see what if we have a couple more wins than 4 if we're healthy. I can argue that we would have more than 4 wins if we did not have all the injuries that we had. But it's the reality of football. You get hurt, you deal with it. If Ridley becomes available, first we need to know how he is mentally, and if he is fine, then we try trading for him. So this is a big topic. I made a video on this, and you made a great point, Derek. We need to make sure mentally he's okay because that he didn't play this year for the Falcons for that reason. So if he's all okay mentally and he's all good and he does become available, that's a big time decision for Joe Douglas. He said today in the press conference that if an opportunity presents himself, we are well positioned to be aggressive. If there's any opportunity to go out there, we feel like we can be in any discussion with any player that becomes available because of all the cap space and a trade would provide, and draft capital, of course. So, this could be one avenue. Calvin Ridley's proved to be one of the best receivers, upcoming receivers. Route running is tremendous. And obviously, if we go out there and trade it for him, we do not have to draft one in the first round. So what's your thoughts about Calvin Ridley? Would you want the Jets to be all in to bring him in if he becomes available?
Yeah, if he becomes available and he's ready to play football, you go after that guy. That guy is the guy that you would need on this offense. And having Ridley, imagine having Ridley, Corey Davis, Elijah Moore.
And Braxton Berrios.
Hopefully. That's a good, solid wide receiver core. Top 3. That's
your number 1 receiver right there, Ridley.
Calvin Ridley is the number 1 receiver. Yes, he is. Because you need to surround talent. And then if you draft you probably should draft a wide receiver, but not probably as high if you get Calvin Ridley. But you definitely should draft a receiver in the later rounds. But getting Calvin Ridley would be insane for this offense. That would be insane for this team and insane of the progression of Zach Wilson. That's kind of what I can compare this to, like everyone else has, the Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs. When they traded for Stephon Diggs, that's helping Josh Allen become a better quarterback because now you have Stephon Diggs playing football for you. And he's making plays. Even against us, he was making plays. He's making these cornerbacks look silly and made that touchdown, which was debatable if it was an actual touchdown. But what we saw was the Bills take a leap with Stephon Diggs. That's what the Jets need to do. They need to develop around their quarterback because Buffalo Bills did a perfect job, amazing job developing around Josh Allen. We did not do that with Sam Darnold at all. So we cannot make this mistake again with Zach Wilson. If a guy like Ridley is available and you have the assets to get him and you won't go completely broke, you go after Ridley because he probably will be better than any receiver then you draft. If he's ready to go, he's mentally prepared, he's ready to go for football, he's in good shape. If all that checks out, that's better than any receiver that you draft because he's a guy who knows football, he knows the NFL, he knows how to beat the top corners, and you have your number 1 receiver right off the bat entering the season. So getting a guy like Ridley would help Zach Wilson's progression insanely, especially with his speed and Zach Wilson's arm. That could be a threat. That could be a threat. I think Crowder probably is walking. I don't think he's gonna stay. We'll see what they do with Braxton Berrios. I think Denzel Mims cut, or traded or whatever. If we get a pick for Denzel Mims, Joe Douglas will get a statue. But if we go out and get Ridley, that would be an insane acquire for Joe Douglas.
Yeah, I agree. If he becomes available and he checks out mentally, you go out there and give your receiver an established guy in this league, because the difference between Calvin Ridley and drafting one in the first round is you're banking on the rookie to be good right away and all that stuff. Ridley gives you, you're expecting big things immediately. But we're also expecting big things from Elijah Moore. That's another thing. Obviously, we all know we need to add another receiver, but
that opens up everything, though. That opens it up for Elijah Moore. That opens up for Corey Davis, and Cameron really likes that number one position, and that'll also help Corey Davis, because Corey Davis is now number one. So all that attention will go on Ridley when he's on that football team. And then Elijah Moore can literally just be in our slot. He literally can just sit there in the slot, catch the ball, and run. And he's a very efficient at doing that. So if we get Calvin Ridley, that offense takes a big leap in success. I really do think that.
Yeah, man. There's a lot of big time potential trades. There's going to be some players that demand a trade that we never expect. So we'll see, man. How many touchdowns from Michael Carter next season? Say he stays healthy, right? That's the number one question. If Michael Carter stayed healthy all season this year, I think he's a 1,000-yard running back. If you look at the numbers, it backs it up.
Yeah.
Remember, he started 10 games and missed. He left 2 games with injury, and in those 2 games, it's pretty ironic how this happened in both the games he got hurt. He had big time runs in both. Remember, against the Miami Dolphins, he rushed all the way down to the 5-yard line on that crazy 50-yard run, and then against the Buccaneers, he had a 55-yard run, and then he got injured in the first quarter. Like, what are the odds? Like, come on. But if Michael Carter plays all year next year, I can see him having 10 total touchdowns at the line of scrimmage in terms of passing and rushing. If I think this offense can take that next step, if they're smart, I think he can get 7 rushing touchdowns and 3 through the air. What do you think about the prediction for Carter next year?
Yeah, I mean, for what he played this year, he had 620 rush yards, 325 receiving yards, and 4 total touchdowns. So
in 9 games in total,
he definitely could have been 1,000-yard rushing if he stayed healthy. That's kind of like, I mean, I think he will reach that next year. Especially if the Jets improve the offensive line a little bit more. He's definitely an 1,000-yard back. He could have gotten this year. I could see the total, even with receiving touchdowns, I could see 10, 11, possibly. Yeah. I that's the range I would see it in, because I think he's just that effective on offense, and I think they trust Carter and they love Carter on this offense. So yeah, I love Michael Carter. He's a solid back.
Yeah, and Luke brings up a good point. Carter also did not have a full workload for some of those games as a rookie. Yeah, I think year number 2, I know that this system is all about, running back by committee, but you got to sometimes give the ball to your talented players. And Carter, I feel like, is a 3-down back, and he's going to prove it. And I think Carter might low-key be potentially one of the best players from the draft class that we got. And that's saying a lot. That's saying a lot, because we have a lot of talented players coming out of this draft class, including Elijah Vera-Tucker, Elijah Moore, and of course, Zach Wilson. I just feel like Michael Carter has a different approach mentally than anybody else I've ever seen coming out of the Jets, especially in the draft class. Like, he's a leader. He's a born leader. He's someone that just believes he can be great. And I'm just really in love with Michael Carter, and I feel like he's going to be on this Jets team for a long time. If he stays healthy, he's going to have a very good season. So, guys, we're going to wrap up the stream here. If you guys did not smash that like button, if you want to help me get to 100 likes, that would greatly mean a lot. We got 79 likes with 150 of you guys chilling in here right now. So please, if you're new to the stream and you did not smash that like button, help me get to 100 likes before the stream is all wrapped up. I greatly appreciate all the support, guys. We were live for a total of 90 minutes, an hour and a half. Ali and I gave you our breakdown of Joe Douglas's press conference, our thoughts about the season as a whole. We talked Zach Wilson. We talked the offense. We talked defense. We talked the draft. We talked free agency. We talked a lot. And guys, I got a special stream brewing for Wednesday night. So mark your calendars, Wednesday at 7 p.m. Look out for a very fun Jets Media live stream. I'm going to have a ton of special guests on there all across Jets YouTube. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. Details will be coming out shortly on my social media, on Twitter and Instagram, of course. So if you're not subscribed or followed over there, make sure you do so you're up to date on when I'm going live and all that great stuff. So guys, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. Help me get to 10K subs. So close, trying to get to 10K subs. It would mean a lot to me. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to my guy, Ali, down below in the description as well. His link is there. So Ali, anything you'd like to say before we wrap up the stream today?
Yeah, guys, it was an interesting season. It was faster than I thought. And now it's off season. It's where the Jets win. This is where they win. So it's gonna be a long off season. There's gonna be a lot of work that we need to do. Senior Bowl is coming up. I'll be at the Senior Bowl. That's gonna be fun. The draft, the free agency. There's a lot of things the Jets need to do. So there's gonna be a lot of content that me and Richie are probably gonna be doing all off season. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe to our my channel, my Instagram, my Twitter, loyal NYJF fans. And you know, and I promise I'll wear Jets gear. Yeah, I mean, hopefully the Jets can turn stuff around. Again, let's off season's away, and we're ready for the Jets to get better.
Let's go, baby. Off season's here. The season to be a Jets fan. There's gonna be so much fun stuff coming up Jets Media in the off season. So stay tuned for that. And I'll catch you guys in the next stream. Stay tuned for Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, and I'll see you guys then. Peace out, everybody, and let's go Jets.
See you guys.